but I got up, felt a little pain in my side, went to the sideline and thought everything was okay. After a while, I passed out. Trainers came over to me and said, Brendan, are you all right? Can you hear me? I said, yeah, I'm okay. I said, it might be my rib. I'm not sure. So he said, well, can you get up? I said, I'll try. So I tried to get up. I couldn't. I tried to do it again. I couldn't. I fell back down. I started crying. I said, something's wrong. And immediately he said, you stay down there longer, the pain's going to grow, and it's going to intense, and you're not going to be able to get up. So by that time, I didn't listen. I stayed on the ground. So they came, they carted me off. The pain had gotten so bad that they couldn't even take my equipment off of me. So when I counted my boy Tim. He came in the locker room, and I said, man, begin to pray for me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know this pain. So I got to the hospital. By that time, my eyes were rolling in the back of my head, and I passed out. When I come to, I'm in a hospital bed, and the doctor says, hey, you're a close one. You know what just happened? I said, no, what? He said, you ruptured your kidney. I said, ruptured my kidney? I said, what you mean? He said, the hit that you took popped your kidney, and it exploded. So we had to do immediate surgery so we can clear the blood and the urine out from your system because it was like toxin on the side of my body. So I laid there and I was thinking, I said, well, God, this is a great opportunity for me to show people that you can heal and that that you're great, that you're king. So this is not the issue for me. But then the doctor came back in and he says this. He said, oh, by the way, you can no longer play football. And that was the news that I never thought that I would hear because I saw a lot of guys that pursued this game and dreamed about playing in the NFL and they had it on lock, but at the end of the day, a lot of guys didn't make it. So when I heard these words, I was like, no, this can't be me. This is not it. But he said, if you play, he said, you're at risk to hurt your other kidney and be on dialysis. So I sat there 3 days in the hospital, and I started crying. I said, God, this can't be it. This can't be the end of me. That's all I got. It's the only thing that I felt like was a comfort to me, was teaching me how to be a man and certain things like that, whether it was good or bad. I was comfortable with this thing. This can't be it. How am I going to take care of my mom? How am I going to be famous so my dad might want me again? That was the things that was running through my mind. And so when I came back home, I had my surgery in 2006, and I went through this long year of depression, about a year and a half. I was so depressed that every day I woke up, I thought about killing myself. I was okay during the morning, and at nighttime I would come home, and I had these suicidal thoughts running in my life. I might as well just end it. There's no point. If I don't have football, I don't have anything else. And so I began to pray, and I began to ask God, I said, God, what's going on? This cannot be the end of me. And then from there, he began to show me. He began to show me my heart. He began to show me my bitterness. He began to show me my pain. The things that I was using football was to cover up because I was able to express all those emotions, but once it was gone, I had no expression. Then he took me back to the day I was in the courtroom. He took me back to the day where he was like, you've done all this because all you wanted was a father. So I got to a point where I was frustrated. I said, God, no, that ain't true. I said, and I broke down crying. I said, yeah, it's true. I said, because he was supposed to be there. He was supposed to teach me how to throw ball. He was supposed to teach me how to tie a tie. He was supposed to teach me. So yes, I'm angry. Yes, I'm upset. And I began upset, and this anger and this rage came up out of me that a lot of people experience, but they don't know what it is. So I said, God, if I'm going to end up like this, you're going to have to do something because I'm going to go crazy. And that's when I felt like he spoke into my heart and said, listen, I'll be your father. I'll father you. And I said, God, I said, that's great. I said, but I don't know how to be a son. I don't know how to respect another man. I don't want to submit. I've been running my own life. I've been leading this thing. So how are you going to teach me how to be a son? He said, I'll be your father. And you'll become my son. And immediately I began to be healed in my heart. I felt things fall off my life that was holding me back, and I began to release and forgive my father, whether he was there or not. I was like, God, because you forgave me, I can't forgive. And at that point, my heart began to be healed because it wasn't just affecting my life, but it was affecting my relationship with God. Because for a while, for a long time, I was viewing God like I viewed my father. And I was performing for him because I felt like, well, you might reject me like my father did. So I felt like I had to put on this good behavior so I don't sin and go to hell and all this other stuff. But he had said, listen, my love is unconditional. So at that point, it was crazy because after I went through that episode, I met my father for the first time. It was in September. I was 23 years old. My father had called me on the phone, and I was at home. And he said, hello, he said, this is greater than Hollywood. And immediately my heart dropped. Because hearing his voice had done something to me. And I already had forgiven him, I had already went through that process, and I had already released him because I knew how hard it must have been to come and approach me. Knowing the shame and the guilt you probably have felt. So I had to release it. And to this day, right now, we have a great relationship.
Amen.
Because he really, really did. So I wanted to tell you why fathers are important and why we need men and why we need fathers in our community to really step up. There's a quote that says that if we ignore or feel like the child is not our responsibility, then they become a candidate that causes great harm in the future. Fathers, you are important. Why? Because it's the greatest honor that God can bestow upon a man. He gave you a function, a title that he carries to represent him down on the earth. Fathers, you're important, you're necessary. Why? Because you're the founder. You're the backbone. You are what the family stands on. And when you're not there, they have a temporary foundation that a lot of times cracks and break down, and they're falling, they can't get up because they have nobody to stand on. Fathers, you're important. Why? Because you give identity. At one point in time, it used to be important for family to carry the family name. Kids knew who they were. They knew who they were representing. But now the name doesn't mean something. And so a lot of kids, a lot of young people have identity issues. I don't know who I am. I don't know if I'm a boy or a girl because I never got the affirmation or the validation or the encouragement from my father. So who am I? Because we pass on names, and so now mothers are giving the child a name, and so really the father was supposed to do it, so kids are confused. Father, this is why you're important. You're important because you give strength. You have strength that you give. That young boys a lot of times try to measure themselves with your strength, and they try because one day they want to surpass it. But when that strength is not there, what do you think they go to? They go to other things that will become strength for them. They know what it's like to call on dad because they know dad is strong and dad will be there. That's why in school you will see young boys tell other boys that, listen, my dad bigger than yours. He's stronger than your dad. So they already know, listen, my dad is somebody, right? Fathers, you're important. Why? Because you're the protector and the defender of the home. When kids are going through, who they call on? They don't call mom, they call dad because they know dad's going to protect me, dad's going to defend me, dad's got my back. But when that's not there, what do they go to? They join gangs. They get around other peers that really don't have a father, and they try to figure out this thing by themselves. And they'll say, well, I'll protect myself. I'll get me a gun. Let somebody try me. So now they find themselves protected. For lack of better words. They don't have any protection. They don't have anybody to defend them, to take care of them. But they'll join these gangs because they have a sense of belonging. And they'll join other people or these football teams, and they'll teach them certain things that really is not right. But because you don't have an example, you'll follow it. Yeah. Fathers, you are necessary because of your words. Your words give life. You know how many times that I felt comforted and felt strong when I heard a man say, man, I'm proud of you. I'm glad that you're doing this. You're my son. And that built me up, and I held my chin up and said, yeah, I can do it again. And it made me try even harder. Your words matter. They matter to your wife. They matter to your children. They matter to people. And when you speak, you have the ability to heal the hearts of the young people. That's why we need your words. We don't need your words to abuse people. We don't need your words to tear people down. We need your words to lift people up. Fathers, you are important.